What's going on, everyone? About 72% of stocks in the S&P 500 closed up in the green today, and it was a pretty exciting day as a handful of stocks moved in some really powerful ways. It just wasn't the usual group of stocks like the big tech stocks, but we actually have some pretty big news today as Amazon is joining Google and Microsoft by getting involved into the nuclear energy industry. On top of that, we have a lot of stocks going crazy as earnings season is ramping back up again. So we're set for a pretty exciting rest of the week, and we have some pretty big stocks set to report earnings for tomorrow. So we have a lot of great setups for today, so stick with us all the way until the end. And Tom, let's get right into it.
Yeah, the SPY came back pretty well today, actually. I know yesterday it was a pretty bad day for the SPY overall, and today we recovered back above 580, and it ended up closing around that 582 mark. So that's going to be a big thing to watch for tomorrow as those tech stocks possibly try to keep recovering here, Mike. But the big news today that I saw was really with Amazon, and I'll tell you what, Amazon didn't even move. I thought that was the best part. There's all this news with Amazon going nuclear, Mike, joining all these other big tech stocks in doing so. And every few years we see these big tech stocks go through these kind of cycles like this where they all kind of focus on one topic. Before it was all AI. Remember, they were all like, okay, we're all gonna get into the AI and develop our own AI, and then the stocks would start popping and stuff. Now they're all kind of going towards this nuclear thing, and they see the other big tech stocks doing it, so then everybody's just kind of joining along, right? But they signed an agreement with Dominion Energy to actually do this, Mike. So ticker symbol D is one of those nuclear stocks, so to say, and it's up 5.1% today. And we saw a ton of stocks in this sector pop off. Whether you're looking at CCJ, which is a very, very popular uranium stock, or UUUU, they were all popping off.
Yes, and more specifically about the news from today is that Amazon is going to be dedicating $500 million to do a deal with Dominion Energy where essentially Amazon is going to be able to secure a high power source of energy to power, their AWS servers and just their data centers. As we know, AI and just the tech industry has been growing like crazy, not only just over the past couple of years, but the further back you look, the more it's been growing. And realistically, this trend probably isn't going to turn around anytime soon. And this is bringing upon a giant demand for energy, not only for Amazon, but a lot of these other big tech companies. And they need to be able to secure sources to power these data centers and everything else that they are involved in. And a lot of these companies are turning towards nuclear energy because it's cleaner and it's just more powerful. So that's kind of some of the backstory as to why the nuclear energy industry is seeing such strong inflows right now. And when we look at stocks, like Tom said, Amazon didn't even really move today, and I'm not too surprised by this because by Amazon announcing they're going to go nuclear, it doesn't really change anything too crazy for Amazon. But what it does do is it brings a lot of money into nuclear energy related stocks. Ticker symbol D, SMR, UEC, UUU, CCJ, and a lot of others have a lot to gain from not only just big tech stocks adopting nuclear energy, but even just the rest of the world in general. So this is a pretty big deal for the nuclear energy industry right now, and I'm pretty excited to see how this situation develops over the coming years.
Yeah, Mike, SMRs are actually pretty interesting. I started to look into some of the SMR plant ideas, and NewScale is one of the bigger companies out there that deals with SMRs directly. And on the screen now, you're kind of seeing how an SMR is kind of set up. Now, look, we're not physicists, nuclear physicists, or anything like that, so we can't get too in depth into these SMRs. But at the end of the day, ticker symbol SMR is NewScale, and we're literally literally talking about SMRs. And Mike, this company was up 40% today. I thought that this was actually my personal favorite stock from all of these nuclear talks and everything like that. This one has been popping and had a huge move today. Looking at this stock from the time it IPO'd, it's actually making new all-time highs with that move today as well. And sometimes, like with these tech stocks, there can be some crazy runs. I will say, though, just be careful with the FOMO right now. It's kind of scary buying up here at $20, but then again, sometimes these new emerging technology stocks can run for quite a while.
That's the thing. It's like when there is hype, do not doubt how crazy stocks can go. And like you said, ticker symbol SMR especially has a lot to gain because this time around when it comes to nuclear energy, a lot of these companies are focusing more on small modular reactors. So instead of having like a giant nuclear power plant, they're just going for like much smaller designs, which I think has a lot of benefits, as Tom showed the picture for. But the main thing is keep a close eye on these stocks going forward, especially ticker symbol SMR, because not only is the stock moving in a crazy way in the short term, but I personally think as long as, these nuclear energy companies can execute correctly, I think there's a lot of potential for this industry over the long term, not only because it's like a very high power source of energy, but it is cleaner than historical forms of energy. But the main question is, can these nuclear companies execute where the technology does what it's supposed to do?
Yeah, and I haven't really ever heard of small modular reactors before until these all started hitting the headlines. And I think that a lot of investors haven't really either. And a lot of them are now going to be brought to light because of this. And SMR is obviously the main beneficiary here. So keep it on the radar for the next couple days, couple weeks. And like Mike said, even for the long term, I think it could end up being a pretty good long-term play as well. I might wait for a dip to start to buy in on this one at some point, but nonetheless, it is awesome in the short term. And there's going to be some really fun plays that we talk about tonight as well with the uranium stocks, Mike. But I know that a lot of the uranium stocks went pretty crazy today, and there's a few earnings plays that also popped off, like United Airlines. They reported earnings last night. They did pretty well, of course, and the stock exploded today, dragging up all the other airlines as well. And there's quite a few earnings on the radar for tomorrow that we just had to hit on. Looking at Taiwan Semiconductors, the chip stocks took a big hit this week with ASML, so that'll be on watch tomorrow morning very closely. And then, of course, Netflix and After Hours, which I know this was your favorite one on Sunday night's video.
It's earnings season, baby. We're set for some big moves, whether you're looking at Netflix, TSM, like you mentioned, some of these airline and travel-related stocks, or even the big banks, as we saw lately. Stocks are moving in exciting ways, and this presents a lot of opportunity in both directions, as long as you trade these stocks in a way that aligns with smart, disciplined, long-term oriented trading habits, like we always talk about. Of course, you can gamble on these stocks before earnings, and if that's your thing, then best of luck to you. But at the same time, there's a lot of opportunity trading the moves after the fact. Like when you look at ticker symbol UAL today, this stock absolutely blasted to the upside, and that was after the earnings report. Instead of having to overpay for options and cross your fingers and hope that it goes in the direction that you traded on, you can just wait until the earnings already come out and then just ride the momentum. And one of the key things is just being able to adapt. Whether you're looking at ticker symbol UAL, which is, of course, an airline, or even some of these energy-related stocks that we talked about earlier in the video, like SMR, the key thing is being able to adapt with the market's flows and position yourself where even if you are wrong, your stop loss is close enough where it's not going to hurt you that bad. But if you're right, like in SMR or UAL's case, you have a lot to gain. And when you position yourself in smart, disciplined ways and you're following the money, it puts you in an advantageous position. And I'm very excited for this earnings season.
Yeah, me too. Tomorrow's going to be big, and kind of looking at Taiwan Semiconductors and Netflix a little bit closely for tomorrow. Netflix is actually right around a huge support, Mike. I know that you've been talking about Netflix a little bit in the short term in a bearish way, and it's right around that key $700 support. If these earnings do not go well, we could probably end up seeing a pretty good break down below that level. At the same time, if they do end up well, we might see a pretty good pop, of course. But I don't know, Mike. I'm kind of leaning down with how these tech stocks have been kind of moving reacting this week. I know that the SPY has been breaking out a lot, but, looking at the chip stocks, it's definitely been a sad subject, along with some of the bigger tech stocks. And, of course, Taiwan Semiconductors is pulling back this week with ASML, so that's going to be huge. Like, if TSM has a bad report tomorrow, we might see another red day out of NVIDIA, AMD, and the others, maybe kind of like what we saw on Tuesday. Maybe not quite that bad, though. That ASML situation was weird.
The earnings leak, right? Resulting in $50 billion in losses. But what I'm so curious about for this earnings season is how the big tech stocks will do. And I'll definitely throw Netflix into the mix there. As we look at today's heat map, we could see that, generally speaking, the stock market did pretty well, as 72% of stocks actually closed up in the green. But when you look closer, you can see the big tech stocks, especially today, like Apple, Microsoft, Meta, Netflix, and others, they didn't do too hot. So what I'm curious about is that if we see a situation where these companies report, good or fine earnings, but we see the stocks fall, and I wouldn't really be too surprised by that, given that there are, of course, some serious risks going on in the world right now, not only overseas, but even in the election. It definitely brings in some fear. But even more importantly, a lot of the big tech stocks right now are trading at some very aggressive valuations, and they're at key, crucial levels. Like when you look at NVIDIA, it is basically at its all-time high right now. So for it to sustain this level of euphoria, its earnings can't just be good, they have to be great. And the same can apply for a lot of these other big tech stocks. So I am a little bit worried about a potentially decent earnings but negative stock reaction this season.
Yeah, I would hate to see that, Mike. Hopefully we have some pretty good beats come in here, but I am worried about a lot of these overhead resistances. Apple's kind of double topping, Nvidia's double topping, and even getting a little deper, like looking at Microsoft, it's actually been really weak over the past couple to few months. It hasn't really even gotten back to highs. So, looking at a lot of these tech stocks, they haven't had the best movement while the SPY's been running up. I think that the SPY's actually been getting carried by other stocks here, kind of like the banks, which have been really good lately. That's been making up for maybe some of Microsoft's, we'll say, negative moves in the short term. But I'm with you, Mike. I hope that we can, at least see some decent moves following these earnings. And I hope that the tech stocks don't fall. But if they do, it's okay, guys. Just adapt. For the long term, they'll still be totally fine. But in the short term, there could end up being some pullbacks. And, especially over the next couple weeks, we're getting really close to the election. There might be a little bit of upticks in volatility here.
Absolutely, and that's a trader's dream. So good stuff there. But looking more specifically at the schedule for tomorrow, what's on the radar?
Yeah, we actually have retail sales tomorrow, 1 hour before the market opens, along with the weekly initial jobless claim. So watch out for that. Sometimes that can end up moving the market as well. And then Friday, we have the building permits, but that's pretty much it, Mike. There's not really too much. I would say the retail sales are pretty negligible. It could cause an intraday move or move early in the morning, of course, if it is, well above or below analyst expectations.
Sounds good. So, Tom, we are 0.5% away from SPY's all-time high. What are the key levels and analysis heading into tomorrow?
Yeah, we talked about some of these levels yesterday again, like 582.50 ended up being a really good level today on the SPY. The high of day, it actually held right around that 579 to 580 support from yesterday and pulled right back above 581. So SPY's doing pretty good in the short term. If we see a good rip above 582.50, I'm watching 583.50 next, 584, and then 585, which is that all-time high and short-term double top up there. If we do see a big pullback, that 580 support along with 579 and 578 will be the main levels to watch. But just watch out for those earnings in the morning. TSM might dictate this move here.
Sounds good. All right, well, with that being said, let's get right into some setups and predictions. A stock I'm watching very closely right now is Disney, and it is to the upside. This stock had a pretty good day today as it popped up by just under 3%. And what I really like about this setup right now is especially its intraday price action. You could see that there were very few pullbacks along the path today. And what this shows is that there was a lot of consistent buying pressure, and at the same time, the stock moved up in a way that shows that not only was there consistent buying pressure, but it was actually like momentum driven, because the stock was up around 3%, and that is a good amount for Disney. As we can see in the bottom right corner of the screen right now, the average increase for Disney is less than 1%. So I thought that was pretty interesting. But on top of that, like we talked about with the heat map, big tech stocks weren't all that strong today, which means that other areas of the market were kind of, carrying the S&P 500 today. So Disney is one of those, I don't want to call them a value stock, but it's certainly not a big tech stock, right? It's just one of those stocks that are, kind of kicked off to the side. But either way, it shows that there's a lot of strength flowing into other stocks right now, which helps support the Disney bull thesis. So either way, it's on my bullish radar.
Yeah, Disney's been down here for a while, Mike. It's starting to finally recover back up here following this dip. It had a pretty good run earlier in the year, all the way up to 124, 125, and then fell all the way off. And I really do like this short-term recovery. I'll definitely watch it as well. With my first picks, I'm looking obviously at CCJ and UUUU. I had to pick two stocks this time. We already talked a lot about SMR, but looking at CCJ for tomorrow, Mike, there was a ton of momentum today, and it just broke out of a recent range. So if we continue to see the high of day from today right around $56 break, and you just keep seeing this good, consistent upwards momentum, then I think there could be a good scalping opportunity intraday tomorrow, possibly even like a 1 to 3 hour swing if we do see enough momentum. And of course, you'll have to be scaling out and using your stop loss and stuff like that accordingly. But overall, Mike, a lot of good momentum out of these uranium plays.
Yeah, and like you said, Tom, the uranium side of the market right now is getting pretty hot. It's like more and more news is coming out with it, and the sentiment is very euphorically bullish. We'll put it that way. So these stocks will definitely be close on watch. But another setup that I'll be watching pretty closely is Meta, and it's actually to the downside. Meta has been struggling a little bit over the past week or so. It has not been selling off in like a crazy way, but it definitely is showing some weakness that's worth noting. And I don't mind having some like bearish setups on watch, given how shaky the market will be over the coming weeks. So Meta is rejecting pretty hard off of its all-time high, just over $600 a share, which is a pretty strong resistance. At the same time, big tech is relatively weak to how it's been in the short term. So either way, Meta is on my downside radar, and I would love to see it get back below the 575 level.
Yeah, I'm watching it to the downside as well, Mike. That huge double top around $600 is huge, and it's been doing really well over the past couple months. But, pullbacks happen, and especially at huge levels like this, I'm right there with you. I'll be watching it to the downside. With my next play, I'm looking at American Airlines to the upside. The airlines killed it. Like we said, United reported, and most of the airlines are popping off very well today. If I see AAL break $13 tomorrow, I'll keep looking for that nice bullish momentum. The momentum really continued all day today, even though, of course, United reported last night. So that was a great sign. And going over to the Bookmap here, there was 626,000 shares stacked up at $13. It is a low price stock, so I'm not surprised to see these crazy numbers like this, but that's quite a bit there at 13. That's definitely a brick wall. So if we break that, I'll be watching for a move up to 1350 and higher.
That is a brick wall, Tom. Yeah, so either way, keep a close eye on these levels for AAL. It has a lot of momentum, but like Tom said, there are some key levels overhead that will fight against this uptrend. But besides that, we are all clear for today's momentum plays. And with the first one, we have RKLB to the upside.
Mike, this one was insane today, up 12.5%. It's kind of a space stock. If it ends up breaking out above $11.50, keep watching it for another move.
All right, with the next one, we have CLOV, also to the upside.
This stock really blew me away today, up 3.15%. If it's able to break above $4.30, keep watching it up.
All right, and now with the last one, we have Coinbase for both directions.
COIN, pretty wild here, 7.2%. If Coinbase is able to break out above 212.40, then keep watching it to the upside. If it ends up pulling back under $200, then watch it down. But with the way Bitcoin moved today, I would expect a move higher. I know that this is the momentum plays, Mike, but going to the daily chart on Bitcoin really fast, it is breaking out in a major way out and above a major channel that it's been in lately.
Sounds good. So either way, we have Coinbase, CLOV, and RKLB on watch for tomorrow. These are momentum plays. If they break above the levels Tom listed, we are looking at them in a bullish way. And at the same time, for Coinbase, we do have that both direction opportunity. So if it breaks below the level Tom listed, there's also some bearish opportunities there as well. But either way, these stocks are on watch, where the stronger they move and the more consistent the price action is, the better the setups become. If they don't break the levels Tom listed, then don't force the setups. But it's now about that time for today's $805,000 big money trade. And we are looking at ticker symbol WMG. So Warner Music Group had the big money by the 32 strike call options that expire on December 20th of 2024 today. This is an $800,000 trade. These options are at the money. They have some time to them, so the big money is definitely expecting a decent move here over the medium term. And as I look at this stock, we can see that it has been making lower highs pretty consistently over the past couple of years. At the same time, bullish momentum has been strengthening over the past couple of weeks, which is good to see, but there's also a fair amount of resistance overhead, which is a good thing and a bad thing. By there being a lot of resistance overhead, obviously it's not a good thing in the sense that there are some major walls that this stock will have to get through in order to truly break out. But at the same time, the stock has not gotten to the point where it's crazy overextended just yet, so we're still a little bit early in this potential uptrend. So either way, keep a close eye on this stock going forward. Again, these options are at the money, so it'll be interesting to see how they play out, because there's a good amount of time to them too.
Yeah, and this play kind of reminds me of a few other big money plays from recently where they were called out kind of in the middle of the range as they're bouncing off of supports, and then we start to see some pretty good breaks and move towards the upper end of the range. This range between $27 and $37 has been huge over the past couple of years. I guess you could even go as low as saying $23 to $24 as being the bottom of the range, considering all those bounces there. But I do like that double bottom in the short term. I like that support around 27 as well. And overall, I know a lot of people are probably thinking this one's overextended, but we've been seeing a lot of great recoveries lately, and I would not be surprised to see WMG break through here and at least get up to $34, at least a lower target level.
Yeah, so either way, keep it close on watch. This stock can have some pretty good moves in multiple different ways, so keep it on your radar. But before we move forward, I want to give a giant shout out to today's member of the day, Z Creations, who hit it out of the park today with some DUK call options, and we could see some slight 1,300% gains here. So this was one of the craziest trades I've seen in quite a while, and huge shout out to you, Z Creations. Hopefully we see many more of these going forward, and this is another one of those stocks that has been benefiting from the nuclear energy hype over the past couple of weeks.
Yeah, that is awesome, Z Creations. I cannot believe it. 1,300%. You don't see that every single day in the Profits channel. So congrats to you for catching that one. The nuclear stocks are definitely moving in an exponential way, or at least the ones that are tied to them anyways. But Mike, that is fantastic. We saw a lot of great profits today with these uranium stocks throughout the Discord.
Absolutely. So if you guys are new to the channel, consider obliterating the subscribe button. And if you do that, you'll get our videos recommended to you more often. Every single day, we cover the most important news, events, earnings, setups to be aware of, and big money trades. So by subscribing, you'll stay up to date on everything you have to know. Most videos are 20 to 25 minutes or less. Some go a little bit longer, but we cover everything you have to know. We're set for a pretty exciting next couple of weeks as earnings season is in full effect and the election is getting closer and closer. So it should be a pretty exciting rest of the month. Besides that, thank you all so much for watching, and let's crush it in the market tomorrow.